Hey everyone, it's VM Campos, comic book fan. Welcome to another episode of the weekly VM Campos Comic Book Club. For the audio-only version of the podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, where you get all your favorite podcasts from. This is the series where I review a comic book in my collection, new or old, and I rate the cover, the interior art, the plot, and the enjoyability of the book. This week I've got The Walking Dead number 192 from Image Comics. Now, spoiler alert. I have to completely spoil this book. There's no way around it. Page 1 is a huge spoiler. I can't talk about this book in any sort of euphemisms or anything. I have to spoil it. So if you first want to read the book and then we'll talk about it, come on back after you do so. Remember, buy these books yourself, either in print or digitally. Better yet, buy them at your local comic shop. Support your favorite creators and companies. It's worth it. Okay, The Walking Dead, number 192. If you only watch the TV show, you're missing a lot. There are characters here that are not on the show. There are plots that are not on the show. That's Carl. So if you're only watching the show, Carl is still alive in this version of The Walking Dead. Andrea survived until like 20 issues ago, whereas she died on the show a while ago. And there's brand new plots going on here. Again, I've got to reveal the plot before we go too far into it. But before that, the cover. Let's talk about the cover. So we have Carl looking very pensive. He's holding a gun. There's corpses all around. I like the sort of the signature of the artist, kind of like in the detritus of the scene. And it's the usual like dystopic sort of city scene. A bunch of corpses and blood and Carl looking pensive. I like it. I like the cover. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Great sense of perspective lines. You have the buildings and the sidewalk converging to the middle, to where Carl is, pointing to his gun. And these zombies look as good as ever. So I'll give the cover a 4 out of 5. Okay, the plot. Well, written by Robert Kirkman, penciler Charlie Adlard, and inker Stefano Gaudino. If you didn't know, the comic is in black and white, so there's no colorist. There is Cliff Rathburn doing gray tones, Russ Wooten, letterer, and Dave Stewart, cover colors. Okay, so page 1. Rick Grimes is shot by Sebastian Milton. Who is Sebastian Milton? Again, I can't reveal anything without spoiling so much that may or may never happen on the show. But in the comics, the Rick group has found the Commonwealth, a community that has grown and been more powerful than any before, headed by Pamela Milton. Rick joins, the Rick crew joins the Commonwealth. There start to be cracks in the society, and there's a big old revelation and changes and stuff, and things seem to be on their way up until Rick is shot at the end of issue number 191 by Pamela's spoiled son. And again, right away we see this. The gun is still smoking. Rick barely eeps out, "What?" And Sebastian, "I'm sorry, I didn't." And lest you think this is a cliffhanger that he'll recover from, he shoots him 2 more times. This is it. Rick Grimes is dead. He is really dead. Not like on the TV show that he gets whisked away on a helicopter to come back in 3 made-for-TV movies. He is dead. How do we know this? We see a full-page splash page, Rick bloody and dead in his bed, and the progression of time. From night to morning, Rick is dead. Carl goes to see him, and Carl must kill his own father. Rick returns as a walker. Carl reacts as you do with The Walking Dead headshot. Rick Grimes is dead. He is dead. completely and utterly tragic. If you've followed the story of The Walking Dead, it's gone through so many iterations, so many characters, so many deaths of characters you love. But this is the main character from issue number 1 to 192. Our protagonist, Rick Grimes, is dead. The plot is a 10 out of 5. It takes a lot of guts to kill your main character, the most important character in the series, the one that we've seen through triumphs and tragedies, learning and growing, trying to be a good man throughout it all. And in the recent plot line with Dwight and Milton, you see that he's always trying to do the right thing. And here, a spoiled brat of the aristocrat class in the Commonwealth has shot him, has killed him. So this is an amazing plot. This is historic. 10 out of 5. Art. This is the usual Charlie Adler art. Very realistic, very moody, a lot of chiaroscuro. That's the fancy way of saying a lot of light and dark. Realistic, close-ups, panels. It's great. It's expertly done in black and white. If you're used to comics in color, black and white comics are amazing. You should check them out, just like black and white movies, editorializing. And it's really good. The characters were created first, and then we got the actors. So some of the actors look very close to what the characters look like in the comics. But for example, like the governor in the comics, he looked more like who would I say, like Cheech Marin, sort of, as opposed to the actor on the show. So yeah, art is very good. It's great. I kind of like the first early issues of the original artist. His style was a little more cartoony, which again, if you watch this podcast very much, you know that I go for the cartoony style. But this is a great realistic art. You can do a lot with these gray tones. 5 out of 5. And the enjoyability of the book. Well, what can you say about that? If you've been invested in this series, how can you enjoy seeing the death of the number one character? You can't. This is the character that we've seen from the beginning. Again, his struggles, his triumphs, trying to build a world after the death of the old one. And it looked like he had made it. He had achieved it finally in his handling of the Commonwealth. It looked like it was going to turn out well. Enjoyability, I would say a 5 out of 5, because I won't spoil more, but obviously everything's been spoiled. But there's still more. There's important stuff still in the book, and just a lot of great heartfelt stuff going on. It was very enjoyable, and you gotta feel something even if you jump into this or the previous issue to see what's going on with this. You've gotta enjoy the grit or the steeliness of the creators, Robert Kirkman mainly, of course, who chose to go this route. And in the back, actually, there is the letters column goes on to talk about, okay, I don't want to totally spoil it. Let's see, how far can we go over here? Can we show it like this? Sure. In the letters column, Kirkman talks about, so Rick Grimes is dead. Feels weird even typing it. It feels even weirder to see it at this point in the story. And he goes on to talk about how it was something that was coming. It wasn't informed by what happened on the TV show. He had a plot that it would always happen, that life goes on, that the world is not one man. It is a collection of people and what we make of it after the apocalypse. So very enjoyable. 5 out of 5. You should go out and get this book. Is it going to be a collectible? I don't know. I think it's been printed enough that there isn't, an understock of it. But you never know. Some earlier issues, even not that long ago, are still valuable. So go off and get a copy. Now, I do have to say my local comic shop did basically double the price. The cover prices here is $3.99, and I got it for $7.99, which is more than double. But I think it's worth it. It's great to jump into it at this point, even if you haven't been reading The Walking Dead, and just see a different perspective on the series. So to recap, the cover is a 5 out of 5. The story is a 10 out of 5. The interior art, 5 out of 5. And the enjoyability, 5 out of 5. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments. What do you think about this issue? Was it as shocking as you thought it would be? Are you just jumping in and checking it out for the first time ever and are completely shocked? It is totally shocking. If you'd like the audio-only version with no spoilers, with no visual spoilers, head on over to your favorite podcast app, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, etc. This has been the weekly VM Campos Comic Book Club, and I'll see you next week.